Hey everyone, it's Gina. You're listening to Seer Sessions. In today's episode, I'm sharing a session with you. My hypnotist Steph is here, and we are going into a session, one where I am the client. We're headed to the Red Planet, to a lifetime where I'm embodying so much of my soul's wisdom. The most of my soul's wisdom, you could say. We're headed back there, and I have questions. I want to gain even more wisdom and understanding about the transcendental space. In hypnosis, we refer to this as hypnotic trance. But given all of my hypnotic journeys, all of my journeys outside of hypnosis that have included going into that transcendental space, there's something about it. It's not just for hypnosis, it is for anyone with a human body. To me, the transcendental space is where we go, where we can access our eternal soul's wisdom. We can access understandings, scenes, memories from other lifetimes, past, present, future. We can connect with ancestors, loved ones, spirit guides from this transcendental space. That's where remote viewing and telepathy come into play. It's a function of the earth suit. Because I learned about it through hypnosis, we can access this state. When we study it, it comes out as looking like we're in theta brainwave state. Another way to say that is that your awareness, your brainwave state is hovering just above sleep. You're totally relaxed, focused completely on your thoughts. I've done so much exploring with myself and with clients in the transcendental space. I wanted to see what else I could understand about it, understand how it benefits my life, more ways that I could add it to my life. The transcendental state is a place that we can go intentionally or unintentionally. It is so beneficial to us. Why not get familiar with it so we can get even more intentional about using it in ways that it benefits us? That's my plan anyway. In the next episode, I'm going to share a hypnotic journey where you can relax and be transported to your higher self and get these similar answers for you so you can understand the best ways for you to use that transcendental space. Whether you find yourself there unintentionally or you intend to go there in the future, find all the ways you can use it, all the benefits it can have in your life. When I say my higher self, I mean the part of me that lives life after life, life in between lives, the part of me, this facet of energy that is a part of the collective but is having its own individuated experience. That part of me, my eternal soul, it holds all the lessons, all the plans, all the wisdom from every life I've ever lived. And that's what I mean when I say higher self. So I am going to my higher self to get this information. That was the plan anyway, until these sessions kind of took on a life of their own. I've been going back to the red planet, which the red planet to me, I don't know what it is. Is it really a red planet? I don't know. Probably not, unless it is, I guess. But it is a place that my mind, my consciousness, my eternal soul's knowing populates in my mind as Gina, and it allows me to gain wisdom and to understand these greater concepts and not only understand them, but kind of bring them down into my life so I can intentionally live a life that is more compassionate, more creative, more peaceful, one where I'm operating more from wisdom than I am my trauma. I had a fear that me talking to my higher self energy would just be a little boring. And so I wanted to experience other lifetimes that would help paint that picture, but also be kind of an entertaining journey along the way. Well, immediately I started having these experiences on the red planet. You can go back to listen to some of those episodes. They're listed in the show notes. And I talk a little bit about my experience with the council on the red planet, lifetimes on the red planet. And what is unfolded is I experience kind of a day in the life. And the day in the life on the red planet that I experience always ties very nicely to the intention for the journey, which continuously fascinates me about these journeys. These stories unfold that we don't even consciously put together, we're not consciously grasping for. These stories unfold and weave together metaphor that most of us could learn from. So that's where we're headed today. to the red planet to get more information about the transcendental state. Okay, let's begin.
Tuning into your senses. Whenever you're ready, just let me know what you're aware of here.
It's the middle of the night, and so it's dark in here, but the moon is really bright. It's what looks like a full moon. And so, even though it's dark in here, the patches that are lit up by the light of the moon are pretty bright. And I got up to get a drink, and we're moving out of this dwelling soon, or I am, and we're gonna move in together. But I'm just enjoying this little place. I really like the way the moonlight comes in, and yeah, I'm just here. Now I'm getting back into bed.
And did you notice anything different or familiar about that moon?
It's really big, really big. Oh, I have something on my mind. I'm just laying in bed, and I know the moon is so big and bright. And so, or I don't know if it is a moon. I guess I think it's a moon just because it looks like a huge moon. But I'm gonna get up and I'm going on a run. I could not go back to sleep because the way this moon looks, and there's no wind right now. And even though it's not a windy season right now, it's usually a little bit of a wind kicking up enough sand that running outside isn't a good idea. But I'm just running. It's so still and calm. And this moon is so big. And I had been laying in bed thinking about something in my mind is keeping me up. And so to be out here, it's washing it away. I can't even think about anything else besides the moon and the crunch. It sounds like, oh, Steph, you'll know this. It sounds like snow when it's below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is Celsius, but when you step on it, it just has this real squeak to it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
so cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like dry but squeaky. And that's kind of what it is, but it's not snow and it's not cold. It's just like this kind of a squeaky crunch that's usually not there because it's usually windy, and it's so quiet. And for this for this I'll come back to this in meditation. But for the sake of this session, I'm like, okay, we should probably move this forward, even though I could sit here for an hour just enjoying it. Then I come back and it's getting lighter out. Sky is getting lighter. I don't see a sun. My lover is out of bed and he's eating breakfast, and he had been wondering where I was. I don't know if it's normal for me to be out and about in the middle of the night because he doesn't seem concerned. And I change and I'm running behind because I was out there so long.
And what else do you do getting ready to go out for your day?
Yeah, I made something real quick to sit down and eat with him, to have a little bit of time with him. And I was trying to figure out what I'm eating, and it seems it's like a bread, like a toast thing, even though the consistency's a little different. And then there's this spread on top. But it's very nutrient dense and it's very economical food. Like it's just enough and it's just the nutrients you need. And they still value eating and eating meals, but it's more because of the connection over the meal.
Hmm.
Even, yeah, even though their food is like super basic. But now I'm getting ready for work and I'm putting on this really cool jumpsuit. It's almost like this really like thick denim or canvas kind of material, and it's tight, very tight, but it's thick, and it like essentially I step into it and it zips all the way up, and it goes from basically below my ears and jawline all the way down over my boots. So today, and why I'm wearing this jumpsuit is I have this kind of dune buggy looking thing that I put on the back of my truck, and I drive out to this area where I have people working, or people who I work with are working out there. And so I'm going out there just to check on them. But I wear this jumpsuit because the sand is very fine where they are, and so it doesn't take a lot of wind to get the sand going. So I have this suit and this helmet that are made for me to be able to easily walk around outside, even if it's really bad wind and sand. But I have this little dune buggy that I park my truck, and then I take this kind of dune buggy looking thing and I get in that, and then I go down this really steep, rocky crater. And I'm heading across the crater where these people who I work with, and I'm going over there to check on them, and I'll be with them today. Yeah, I'm just checking in to see how they're doing, and like in their heart and in their mind. And there's three of them that work there, and everything seems normal and fine. But I noticed that in one of them, there seems to be something a little off, but it's so subtle. I don't even know if he knows it, but I just make a mental note to talk to him about it later. I try to bring it up to them if I see it. Sometimes I can see these things in them before they do.
Hmm. Do you feel that this was related to what you had on your mind the night before?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually why I came out here because I had overheard a conversation about this third person who seems a little off today. I had overheard a conversation about that person. And just from that conversation, I thought, I wonder if they're struggling with something. And it wasn't anything big, it wasn't anything wrong. But because that's my job and because I really know this person and have studied this person, it's it's something that I'm trained, that's part of my job is to take that stuff seriously.
Hmm.
And yeah, and so for whatever reason, it was weighing heavy on me last night. And I guess I'm going to pause here and insert this question that I had the other day. I was doing something like emptying the dishwasher, and I thought, for being so close to my higher self, this life on the red planet, like she still has some struggles. And it was this thought of isn't that interesting? I think that she shouldn't have any problems. And that is such a limiting belief. And so I got quiet because I was just doing kind of mundane, like cleanup tasks around the house and just let my mind wander. And I brought that question to Axe and I said, for being so close to my higher self, you still have a lot of problems. And we had a chuckle about it. And she said, but you feel me during those problems and you see it as a problem.
Hmm.
And even if it's agitating her, it doesn't feel like a problem. It feels like, oh, what's this energy? I have to do something with it. And she said, that's wisdom. You don't get rid of everything so you're happy. You intentionally choose a life knowing that life is going to life. And when shit doesn't go your way, just acknowledge it, study yourself, know how that affects you. And are you okay with that? Do you want to change it? Does it push you forward? Does it hold you back? Like, only you can decide that. She can even be laying awake at night thinking about something. And to Gina, what that means is like, oh, I must be stressing out about this, and I got to do something about this, and here's my 10-point plan, and all that stuff. Here's when I'm going to execute it. And she was just, oh, I have this energy inside of me.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm taking care of it tomorrow, but the residual is that I'm feeling it right now. Plus, the moon is calling me, and it's so quiet and still outside. And what she really saw was this catalyst to wake her up in the middle of the night and get her out and enjoy the run and the sounds and the stillness and the brightness of the moon. It was just the energy that was in her, and she just used it in a way that benefited her. And no one knows or cares but her, but she had this amazing night. She had an amazing few hours just being in euphoria.
Mhm.
And that's what she took from that, but that's her whole life is, like, making things euphoric when she can, and knowing that the equal and opposite is always true, so just being vigilant and taking care of your energy through that. What are your tendencies? What do you wanna change those tendencies? What do you wanna change them to? But yeah, that was what that this is something that was keeping her up. But it's also when I think of it like that, it was more she she really feels for this person
Mhm.
and doesn't want them to feel bad. She's not like, "Oh, how am I gonna get this squeaky wheel to shut up?"
Yeah. And when you were on that run, did you feel you were in that transcendental state?
Yes.
And do you feel like that was the goal? To move the energy and to enter that state for clarity, knowing that you were going to have that conversation or be aware of your intuition when working with him?
Okay. Yeah, this is a really big answer that's coming in. Yes, indirectly. So what Axe knew when she got up was that she had this agitated energy in her. She wanted to be outside kind of anyway. She wanted to sleep, but she couldn't because of this agitated energy. But she also knew that being out there and getting that clarity, which all asterisks the clarity, I'll come back to it, but being out there and getting that clarity helps her be her highest and best in every part of her life. And so, especially if she has a problem, she knows an activity like that is worthwhile because she gets clarity, insights, ideas, all that stuff while she's out there. But what she's doing, what the transcendental state is a closeness to the creation that the you could say, I mean, the shortest cut is you could say it's when we're closer to God, but people describe that in so many different ways. Closer to God, you're in the flow state, your awareness is expanded out of your immediate vicinity, your immediate, what your eyeballs are seeing, your consciousness has elevated, the frequency at which you are vibrating at is elevated. And so all of that is saying you are closer to the divinity from that which you came in the transcendental state. And there's so much coming in. It's hard to funnel it all down into words, but I'm going to try. So it's like you can get there intentionally or unintentionally, but a spiritual path is waking up to knowing that this transcendental space exists. But what Gina calls the transcendental space is a frequency, a state of awareness, a state of intention, a state of being where we are closer to that from which we came. Unconditional love, unlimited potential. It feels good to everyone. So in hypnosis, the hypnotic trance, the theta brainwave state, that's how they measure it. That is one way to describe the transcendental state, one way to describe shifting your awareness, your being to be closer from where we originate, divine creative energy. In that space, we're just elevated. Like you can't get to that space without being elevated. And when I say that space, when I mean the transcendental space, I mean specifically more heavenly dimensions. My God, my brain is just like, trying to get all this information. This is so crazy. I wish I could talk in pictures. So, the transcendental state, okay, we have the ability to get there. Again, in hypnosis, we talk about trance, the theta brainwave state. That's one way you can measure it with certain tools, and that's the way it looks. As Gina, I believe that it's more energetic, more spiritual than that, even. But we can get there, all of us can. It's a function of the earth suit. How we get there I think of those as on-ramps. Hypnosis is one of them, that's my preferred. And then there's plant medicine, there's meditation, there's drumming, chanting, any sort of rhythmic movement, prayer, deep introspective practices. There's breath work, there's all kinds of ways to move our awareness into this transcendental state, into the flow state. And it's just important that we do it safely and that we do it intentionally. Because why not? Why wouldn't you go in there intentionally?
Hmm.
It's such a magic space, right? It's such a magic space that if you're there, you want to use it. So in that, there's all kinds of on-ramps to get there. And when I say transcendental space, I mean the more elevated, unconditional love, pure potential area of the unseen realms around us. If you think of the unseen realms around us, I would call that like the astral plane. So the lower vibrations are more hellish, the higher vibrations are more heavenly. And so I'm talking about the more heavenly realms, and we get there through all kinds of ways. And the way we get there influences the experience we have. The intentions we have going into it influences the experience we have, no matter how we do it, no matter what the on ramp. And so it's about being safe, using it intentionally, and knowing that it really is just this space where your awareness remembers even more the divinity, the creative force from which we came.
And you said awareness. Is it the consciousness or awareness traveling, or both?
The way it's being shown to me now, it's both, but awareness is like one part of consciousness, my own consciousness within the collective.
Okay.
It's not the eyeballs, but that's kind of like the idea of it. Like the awareness is how we take it in, what we're focusing on. And so what we focus on is what we take in.
And you mentioned lower vibrations are more hellish and higher vibration is more heavenly. If someone were to go into those lower vibrations while being safe and setting the intention to explore that in order to become more familiar or release it, would that be something useful?
Mm, yes, because these realms exist within us. The more lower vibration, kind of shadowy side of things that I would be aware of are mine on a journey like this. Not necessarily like in general, but on a journey like this, yes. And to explore that, we all contain multitudes. Like we are filled with every experience that's ever happened to us in this life and every other lifetime. And so when things create negative emotions within us, lower frequency feelings within us, it's something to pay attention to. It's like a way to liberate yourself, whether you can rid yourself of it completely and just put the knowledge of it in your past and not in your present. Or maybe when it comes into your present moment, you use that energy for something really good. Use it as a reason you can do something good for yourself or for someone else.
Would it be possible and beneficial to explore the lower frequencies of the collective during dense times in order to learn how to best manage?
Yes. So, in studying our own energy, our own self, our own shadows, our own gifts, when we can clearly see ourselves, then we can clearly see what is not ours, what is a part of the collective, whether the collective is one other person or everybody ever that was ever, I guess. Either way, we'll be able to identify that more. And if you're trying to monitor something, shift something, change something, you have to first be able to identify it. And so to understand yourself will help you automatically be able to see clearer those shadows and see, oh, I could bring my gifts here, or I could help in this way, or I could stop doing harm in this way. Yeah, so to be able to look at the big picture and kind of find that balance between your energy and what's out there and what are your gifts to share that can help kind of illuminate some of those shadows or illuminate or alleviate some of that kind of denser emotions and feelings.
Is there a way to do something like an entity removal from the dense collective energy?
Ooh. Ah. That makes so much sense. Okay. So, Steph, I know you know a lot of this, but I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the same on the micro and macro. So, releasing an entity off of me versus releasing an entity off the great collective is the same.
Mm.
It's a transmutation of energy. So, some people might not believe they can do it, but if you believe you can do it, it's the same amount of work either way. But the tricky thing is, just like releasing an entity off a person, releasing an entity off the collective is the same. What attracted or allowed that entity to be there in the first place? And if you don't address that, then that same entity or a similar energy will show up again. So it's almost like this you have to heal both points, the point that it's attached to, and then release and transmute the attachment. And it's in our shadows that we can find what attracted this here.
Okay.
And that's and so that's one way. So you could release it off the collective, but the collective is tricky, right? Because now you're dealing with everybody's trauma and everybody's bullshit. And it's really tricky because everyone's got different belief systems. Everyone shames everyone who has a different belief system. Everyone in every belief system thinks their belief system's the best.
Yeah.
This is just the way it is. Honestly, as Gina, that's where I give up. That's like literally why I think it's not going to change. I hope so. I can see how it could. And that's what I try to intentionally focus on every day. But I know that my beliefs really lack in the department of everybody else in the greater world. First of all, I don't want to believe that anymore. I want to believe that we can do this because that'll influence the work I do and how I show up and how I feel showing up. And
Yeah.
so I guess from the point of view of Gina, that question that you asked, how do we get this out of the collective? When I look at that and I see how difficult it was for me to alleviate a lot of my shadows, I just think, my God, and this is like a hobby plus full-time job for me.
Yeah.
And so I do think I'm a little bit more thick-headed than most. I'm stubborn, I rebel, takes me a while to get something even when I want it. But I think that, most people, it maybe wouldn't take them that long. And still, it's taken me so long. And consciousness, my perception is such a trickster that I just don't. How do you do it on the collective? And as someone who sees this, that's why I'm so interested in consciousness because I think that's the only way we do it. That's the only way we maintain so many differences and not shame each other and put each other down and go to war for these differences.
Mhm.
And I see it as the thing that levels everything is a shift in consciousness, more compassion, more love. Yeah, keep your religion. I don't give a shit about your religion, but just stop acting like you're at the top and everyone else is a little more stupid. And that includes any spiritual belief. Like there are people who are not religious who hold spiritual beliefs and they think they're superior to other people.
Mhm.
No one knows. Like, let us be reminded no one knows.
Yeah.
No one knows. Like, even the science of the science has studied consciousness. They don't even know. No one knows what happens when you die. No one does. So we're all just grasping at straws, and all of our differences really set us apart. And I think, how could we make differences not matter? And I think that's an evolution of consciousness. But yeah, that's what it is. It's like, yes, you could release it, and there's millions of attachment points.
Yeah, I think if we shrink it down to our families, so you have the generational curse breakers who are setting it up for their families, and then that kind of extends out into the collective. But if you were focusing on Axe and her team, having this one guy who is a little bit off, How would she, or how do you manage that in order for it to not affect the greater good for the team?
So part of it is this job. My role is almost like a drug sniffing dog, but for emotion. And
Hmm.
for some people, when I share with them, it seems like you might be struggling with blah, blah, blah. It's almost like they've just realized it or they don't see it until we have a conversation about it.
Okay.
So it's my job. I'm highly attuned. I can pick that stuff up, but it's also a craft I've been working and essentially I've been studying these people, my coworkers. I'm also very careful about impressions and how I show up. So I'm really at these different sites a lot and it's on a regular schedule. So me showing up to this place, it's not like, oh shit, she's here, something must be wrong. It's just, oh, it's Tuesday.
Hmm.
She's here. And because I can sense these things before they're a real problem, it's it's like I mean, I don't know if the rhythm is once a week, but in earthly terms, it seems like a once a week thing. Like this is where I'm at once a week and I'm just kind of checking the temperature. And so things have been fine and it's just within the last week there's been some rumblings. And so to go there, it's not out of the norm. It's just that when I have a conversation with this person, that would be out of the norm with them. I mean, unless they're not feeling good, that's when I do it. But it really is, it's just a different vibe. It's not like, oh shit, she's here. You
Yes.
know, something's wrong. Who's going to get talking to?
Yes. If you tune into that, what happens next? Do you end up talking to him, or you say you study them?
The word study feels a little cold and isolated, but that's to me, as Gina, that's what that is. So to study them, what that actually looks like is I get to know their baseline energy and just their personality and how they process things and how they work through things and the types of things that elevate their emotions, the type of thing that soothe their emotions, the types of things that make them upset or break their heart, the types of things that calm them down if they're upset or soothe a broken heart, how they are with other people and how they are when they're alone and what gives them energy and what depletes their energy. I keep files on these people on some level, but it really is just about being with them and understanding them and being curious and withholding judgment. And so with this man in particular, he has something in his thoughts that just started. And the way I see it as acts is a glitch. He has a question that he's not asking. And when I ask him that, what question aren't you asking? His eyebrows went up and he said, that's it. And it's someone he lives with. He was making an assumption, it was causing friction, and he just needed to ask them. But to ask them this question took courage, or takes courage. And he was feeling kind of depleted because of he's learning something new at work, so his reserves were kind of down. And so when he realized that, the question he wasn't asking and the assumption that was creating friction. Yeah, his energies changed. It went from feeling like he was holding his breath to feeling like he finally just kind of exhaled.
Just by talking about it and moving that energy?
Yeah, talking about it and clearing that energy. And sometimes with our consciousness and emotion, they can get clogged almost, and we need an outside view or a trusted voice to say, what's going on here? You don't seem like your normal self. And that alone is enough to pull our awareness out of it slightly so we can take a wider view, a grander angle, and say, oh, actually, it's this little thing that's bothering me. Normally that wouldn't bother me, but I was kind of depleted because of this other thing that I'm doing. And so that's a thing that happens regularly on this planet, that kind of bottleneck of emotion and figuring out kind of what you're doing. Sometimes that emotion can kind of cloud that or make it not clear. And then when we have someone else reflect back to us what they're seeing, it can help us let that dust settle, get that clarity, that understanding, instead of just kind of feeling depleted and overwhelmed. And it's a thing there, and they know that. It's just like, "Hey, you got a dust bunny in the corner. Thanks for letting me know. It's my job.
Yeah.
Do you want the vacuum or the broom?" That's, like, literally how it is. It's, like, so
Yeah.
mundane, but I love it, and it's mundane, but I think of it as, like, this healthy game that kinda keeps my intuition sharp and my mind going and my communication skills up and my curiosity and compassion very fertile. I love it.
Does it feel like there's a way to almost transfer that kind of ease into Gina's life?
Yes, and it is weaving together this story of, like, everything we've touched on in this session, which is pretty incredible in my brain. Let's see if I can put it out my mouth in words. So, that ease comes from being closer to that transcendental state. That ease is flow, that ease is trust, that ease is confidence, that ease is in belief of what you know to be true, of what you see unfold in your life every day. And that ease for Gina, it's increased doing these sessions on the red planet, accessing this transcendental state multiple times a month, like not only on my own, but being guided to go even deeper. And that's the proof. This ease is her trust and her belief in it. What looks like wisdom is her trust and belief in the world that she lives in the magic that she has to share in that world. And that has to do with that transcendental state. And she's showing me all the ways that I access the transcendental state. And I can say at this point on my journey, most of it's intentional. A lot of it is almost automatic plug in. I don't need an induction or anything to get there. And like 6 months ago, I had had this great hike in the morning and I just got so much clarity and just had so much heaviness lifted off of me. And I'm in the transcendental state if I'm hiking alone, especially if it's a hard hike. And I wrote in my journal after that hike, who would you be if you bathed yourself in that for 2 hours a day?
Mm.
And that echoed in my brain. So a lot of times I write something in my journal, I totally forget it. That's why I write it in my journal. But sometimes I write it in my journal and it just echoes in my brain. And that's what it was. It was this echo of like, who would you be? And I made it a priority. Like, I have to be outside a couple hours a day. And that really for Gina, that's been a priority for me since 2020. But to intentionally be in the wilderness, not just in a gym, not just whatever. And it has changed my life again, on top of what 2024 did to me. And so she's just saying, you knew that. You knew that before you had the language for it. You knew it before this session today, 6 months later, over 6 months later. And I didn't have a big TV watching practice before then, but that's such a priority to me that, like, if I haven't moved my body outside, never in a million years would I think is sitting down and watching TV. Like, I'm not gonna do it. And that is such a strong conviction in me that I don't know if I was that conscious that I did all that until right now. But looking back on it, it's like, oh, that's what she's showing me. She's like, you've gotten more of that ease. You see the changes. It's not just the ease. It's so much clarity, so much next steps, visioning, upgrades and beliefs. Yeah, who would we all be if we spent more time in that divinity?
Yeah. That's Very, very true. Does anything else come in here or the rest of your day with your crew? Or does it feel complete?
Yeah, that feels complete.
Amazing. That was a lot of really great wisdom.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Returning to the present moment, I'm going to count from 5 to 1. And when I reach 1, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Ooh-wee, that was a big one. My god. That was so the moon and stuff, that was so good.
Yeah. It felt like the way you described it felt like we were going on a hypnotic journey. Like it was just
Why?
like one of those hypno stories that just like you're running towards the moon just well, that was a cool visual.
Yeah, it was so big, and it looked like the moon, but it was, like, way bigger, but same kinda, like, color, like, creamish That is
Color.
our episode for today. Thanks so much for being here. You can learn more about my work at seersessions.com.